Hi everyone, this is Today I Learned Cloud, and I'm recording another video about Microsoft Azure. Today I'm going to show you how you might use the Azure JavaScript SDK to upload files into Azure Blob Storage. So as you can see, I've got a storage account here, same one I used in a demo earlier called Till Cloud Demo, so Today I Learned Cloud Demo. And we have inside our containers a demo container which currently has no files stored into it. So what we're going to show you is how you might be able to upload files to this storage account using a browser, essentially. So the first thing we need to do to make this work is actually go to the Cores tab over here, and we need to give it permission to allow files to be uploaded from a browser to the storage account directly. To do that, we basically create the new Cores setting. For now, we're just going to put star for the allowed origin, but you might want to set that to something else, specifically your domain where your website might be hosted. And since we're only doing uploads, we're going to only enable the put method. Again, we're going to put wildcard on headers and exposed headers. You'll likely want to change those to be more specific. And we'll just use a day, so 86,400 seconds on the age. So we click Save so that gets applied. So now the core settings are set up on the storage account for Blob, the Blob service, so that the browser SDK can actually upload data to that service. The next thing we want to do is actually in a folder. So I'm just using opt upload JWS. We want to do a npm init here just to start a new project. So there we go, we created that. And we want to install the Azure Storage Blob SDK. And that'll go fetch everything it needs. And because we want to use this Node.js library essentially to work in the browser, we're going to use a packaging tool called Parcel. So we're going to go ahead and install that as well globally. So we just do npm install -g parcel folder, or bundler, sorry. This takes a few seconds to install. So now we want to make sure that our package is set up so that the bundler is configured to work with the latest browsers. So if we just open up the package.json, we can add these settings down here, which you just add the browsers list. Oops. So this will let it work with Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. We'll just exit out of this, and that gets saved. So now what we want to do is build a simple index file. And you can use any text editor to make this work. I'm just using Nano since it's easy for me right now. I'm just going to make a simple HTML file. Actually, we'll drop out the head. So we're going to create a button here, but essentially is going to be used for the user to pick the file that they want to upload. Just call it select button. And then we're also going to put the file input here. And let them choose multiple. But it's going to be, we'll hide it, since we just want them to see the file upload button. Next we need to make the index.js file. That's where all the magic's going to happen for the uploading to to blob storage account. So the first thing we need to do is there's an import we need to make so that the bundler will work correctly, which is basically just include the regenerator runtime. Next, we want to bring in the blob service client, since we want to upload to blob. And this is what we had stored previously. So now we're going to build, set up a variable to attach to the button that we had created in the index file. And then also another one for the file input. And this is just an example using a simple web server. Essentially, you can use your own front end for this instead to do the same thing. So the next thing we need is a SAS URL. But for now, I'm just going to leave it blank. We'll go grab that later in the Azure portal. And for our example, we're using the demo container. And then we can actually create our container client once we have this. So we just take the blob service client that we imported above, and then we call get container client. With the container name we just set. So we're going to make an asynchronous function next. That's actually what's going to handle the uploading. So we'll just call that upload files. Make it asynchronous. I'll wrap this in a try catch. And we're just going to show an alert if there was an error for now. And then, so now we're going to build up a list of promises for all the files that we're actually going to upload to blob. So we can handle that like this, make it an empty array. Then we're just going to loop through each file that's available from the file input. And we'll get the blob client, since we're uploading these files as a blob. And this is just done by giving it the file name that we want to upload it to. So then we push the promise onto the array for the upload that we're currently doing, which is the file itself. So now that we have the list of promises that we want to actually handle, we're going to wait for those to finish. Like so. So that'll actually execute all these and wait for them to complete before continuing. And then we'll just pop up a message saying that we're done. Saving the file there. And now on the select button, I'm just going to add an event listener called click. So handle the click event. And that's just going to be a function which calls the file input.click. So we open up the window to select the file. And then on the file input, we're going to add a change event listener, which is going to call the upload files when somebody has selected a file to be uploaded. So we'll save this. So we now have our JavaScript written, essentially, that will do the uploading through the Azure Blob Storage. We are still missing the SAS URL. So I'll quit out of this and go back to the index. Oops. So now that we have this, we actually want to include the JavaScript. And that is simply handled with a script tag in the body here. So that should give us what we need for the actual website, except for the SAS token. So if we go back to the storage account, you can generate a shared access signature to put in the file here. Basically, we want to select the different services that we want to use, but in our case, it's just Blob, and we want to work with containers and objects. And we really only need to write and create. We can also turn this off. You can set how long the token is going to last. I'm just going to leave the defaults for now. And I'm going to make sure that it only works on HTTPS only. And this is also going to use the signing key 1 from the storage account to generate the SAS token. So currently this will only last until tomorrow. Normally what you do if you're doing this in a real website is you would have an API that you can send a request to get a short-lived token, but you would also lock that shared access signature down to the specific file that they're uploading. So you would ask them for the name of the file that they want to upload, where it's going to be stored, and generate a shared access signature that only lets them upload to that specific file name in the container that you're working with. But in this case, I'm not actually going to do that. So I'll just generate this. This gives us a blob SAS URL here, which by the time you view this video, it'll likely be expired. So now that I have that, I can go back to my index.js, and I can just pop that in here. So that'll essentially use the SAS URL to talk with the Azure Storage Service. With that, it's able to upload. I actually just realized I forgot to create the service client, which uses that URL. So it would be pretty much useless until I do that. So I have to do blob service client is a new blob service client, which we imported above using that blob SAS URL. So then that way we have the client, which is actually being used here. Had I not done that, we would have had an issue trying to call this get data client, because that did not exist. So now that I have that all set up, we can actually get the server up and running, generate the files that we need. So parcel index.html. Parcel index.html. And that's going to go fetch and combine all the JavaScript that's needed to make this work. So now that we have that, we can go to 1, 2, 3, 4. Just going to bring this down a bit. So now we can actually select those files. So one thing I forgot to do was actually create a file to upload. So I'm just going to do touchfile.txt. And I'll say hello inside that file. We're going to select the file that I just created. Oh, and we can see there's a promises not defined error. So I'm going to go back into my index.js. So yeah, there's actually no S on promise. So it should just be promise.all promises. Save that, start her up again. Go back to the page. And we'll select the file. Pick the file text that I created. And we can see that it says done. So basically that means it was successful in uploading the file to the Blob Storage account, which we can actually go check. So we'll do that. So there I'm back in the storage account in Azure, and if I go to containers, the demo container, there we can see the file.txt is now in the Blob account. So that was uploaded through the sample index page that I had made. And just to see that it does have the right contents, if we go here and edit, we can see it says hello. So that should give you an idea of how you can use JavaScript SDK from Microsoft to upload files directly to Blob Storage without needing the API. So you still might need an API to generate a shared access signature for you so that you can talk to Blob. You don't really want to store a long-lived access key inside of a web UI that anybody can inspect and see and then take advantage of. And if you'd like to learn more on how this works and what else you might be able to do with it, I've written an article on todayilearnedcloud.com/file upload. So if you're interested, go visit the site and hopefully learn some more. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.